You're listening to Pop This, the podcast where two women talk about everything pop culture. Here are your hosts, Lisa Christiansen and Andrea Warner.
So my new thing now is I'm obsessed with granola. This is my
What
new
does that
joy.
even mean?
I make my own granola now, all the time, and when I make it, it gets a little bit bigger each time I make it because I add another seed. So right now, when I make it, it has sesame seeds, flax seeds, almonds, walnuts, and pumpkin seeds.
So do you feel like you're keeping really regular during this isolation times?
That would be a good guess, wouldn't it?
I love to talk about people's colons. That's my new thing.
Oh, are you concerned that we've been at home and we're just not living right?
No, I'm actually curiously not concerned about that. I think it's just because of my shy colon and how I'm always sort of really deep in my... And I found out the other day that this is... Oh, sorry. This is going to be quite a digression. I apologize immediately right away. But like, the one time in my life ever that I remember as a child being given a suppository...
Are we like in therapy and you're discussing that moment of trauma or something?
I just sharing
started
with you.
the podcast.
Oh, here we go.
I'm just sharing with you. Anyway, because we had like a very physically distanced Mother's Day the other day, because, we're coming to you from the past, and we're speaking into the future. Anyway, we had a very physically distanced Mother's Day where like everyone was 2 meters apart and there was like, 6 of us in the backyard at my sister's. And I was casually mentioning to my mom about my shy colon, and she was laughing at me, of course. And I was like, Mom, I remember like the one time in my life I ever had a suppository. I was like in the hospital as a kid and I had my tonsils out. And she was like, no, that's not what happened. And I was like, what do you mean that's not what happened? What was I in the hospital for? She was like, you were in the hospital for what they thought was a twisted colon. And I was like, what? What do you, like, I have a twisted colon? And she did not answer that question for too long, frankly. And then finally we came back around to it and I was like, so what about my twisted colon? Do I have a twisted colon? Like, is this something I don't know about myself as a 41-year-old woman? And she's like, no, it turns out that you just were extremely, like, you were 2/3 full, they said. And I was like, what does that even mean? She was like, well, you had to have a suppository and the nurse, I was like 8 years old, and the nurse said, do you want me to do it or do you want your mom to do it? And apparently I said, I want my mom to do it. And this was our happy Mother's Day conversation. So anyways, I guess I'm just like deep in my colon feelings. And when you said flaxseed and sesame seed and walnuts, it just made me think about your colon.
But so
It's
wait.
good. It's good.
No, wait. Because you said your mom at first said you didn't, but then she retracted that and said you did? Have a suppository?
She was just full, so she was...
I was just 2/3 full
backed up
in my colon.
Yeah.
And they thought I had a twisted colon, but they did a scan and I did not have a twisted colon.
See, now I'm just trying to figure out which was a better band name, Shy Colon or Twisted Colon.
I mean, I think that Shy Colon is the band that starts after Twisted Colon fails. The solo project of the lead singer of Twisted Colon.
Oh, wow.
I'm sorry, you were just trying to tell us a nice story about granola and I made us talk about my colon.
My guess would be that one of the functions of granola, though, is to keep a person regular, I would think.
Yeah, because it scrapes you and it, it's good and fibrous and...
Yeah, I just, I make it all the time and I can't stop eating it. So I've got it like, I have some at breakfast and I'm like, that's so good. And then right around lunch, I'm like, that'd be so nice to have some more. And I have a little bit of yogurt. And then before bed now. So
wow. So there's
all, and I don't know if
all the time.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's healthy or if I've basically just turned it into candy. Like maybe there's no health anymore to it.
Do you cover it in maple syrup?
Cover? No, but during the bake, I mean, define cover. During the process of making it, there is maple syrup involved.
Okay.
But once it's baked, I don't put any more on.
Do you do like other flavors too, or is it you are a pure maple girl?
Oh, let me tell you, this is the secret.
Okay.
I have put on olive oil as well.
Oh, that's nice. That's actually
then,
also good for your colon. So
yeah, a little bit of salt,
Yep.
and
Yep.
then that's it. That's the whole recipe.
That's all you're eating?
No, no. I've got into a lot of grains. It seems. Now I eat the farro, the grain of farro. Does anyone know farro? Farro.
You have the diet of a
I've
horse.
had farro before.
now, basically.
Yeah, just basically I walk around with a feed bag
is what you're
attached to
saying.
my face, and when I'm finished, I yell, and then I hit my
Your
hoof really hard, and someone takes the feed bag off my face.
your
then
hair
they
does
fill
look
it
shiny. Like truly, your hair is shiny. It's
I call
extra
it
shiny.
my mane, actually. So.
Do you remember for a while when that like horse shampoo was really popular?
Oh,
Like
mane
that
and
mane
something.
mane conditioner or whatever. Oh my god, such a
I
good
don't
time.
know.
Can I just ask a question?
I don't even know of what though.
Are we all just missing outdoor normal life? Oh.
Yes, yes.
Seems
I am.
like things are getting pretty squirrely.
Oh, I have had squirrels in my eyes all week. I've had vinegar in my veins. I have been crotchety and weird. I am like literally always in just like midweek of week 9. Is this week? No, this is week 10. Week 9. Whatever week
No
we're
idea.
in. Whatever week we're in.
It's May.
Yeah. And it's like May 17th or something today or 15th. I am full on just like hosting my own flea circus in the palm of my hand that only I can see.
I saw a real flea circus for the first time. Last summer.
Where were you?
Washington State at a state fair. There is this man who had a traveling flea circus, which was just a bunch of like miniature carnival. Like a miniature carnival he set up in a suitcase. And he controlled it with like hidden devices. So it looked like fleas were like climbing up a ladder, jumping off a diving board, diving into a pool. And he'd narrate the whole thing like there was actually fleas doing something.
Did you pay for this?
And there's like 20 kids standing around him, totally fascinated.
I'm fascinated.
It was fascinating.
I should know more.
I was like, wow,
The flea
this is a
circus.
show.
That is
This
a
is
show.
a real show.
Did anyone see that super bleak Coen Brothers Netflix Western series of stories?
No. Do they have a flea circus?
No, but something similar. They have a chicken that can add.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, the Ballad of Buster Scruggs.
Yes. Did
Yeah.
anyone see that?
That was
No.
good. Yeah.
I did
You
not.
liked it?
Yeah.
Did you? But the Liam Neeson with the
Yeah, I mean, it's been a while since I've seen it, but
you remember
yeah.
you would remember a man without arms and legs.
Yeah,
though, wouldn't you?
I remember that
Yeah.
guy. Yeah.
You remember that guy. And then how he gets replaced by the chicken?
Yeah. Carnivals are bleak, guys.
Yeah.
They sure are. They sure are. You know what's also bleak? High school.
Oh, segue.
I like the dog signaling our segue though. That's nice. I like that.
What's the matter, Rudy? What happened?
Rudy's like, you guys have been talking for too long. Get to the show.
Get to the show. I'm completely regular, by the way. That's him talking. That's Rudy. And because I know very well the regularity of my dogs. Yes, that is a segue to nowhere. So let's just.
I thought we
rewind it back.
I thought we looped back to the beginning, and you were just talking about your colon.
No,
You talked
you were
about
the
your
one talking
colon.
about your colon.
I mean, who can remember?
Something Freudian there, hey? She talks about granola, and I go talk about my colon. Okay.
Yeah, I like it how it's less than 10 minutes have gone by.
Yeah.
And already in her mind, it's like Lisa was the one talking about her colon.
Yeah.
Look, she said flaxseed. It's an invitation. I'm Andrea Warner.
I'm Lisa Christiansen.
And I'm Andrea Gin.
And you're listening to Pop This at
The
Home
colon edition.
Yeah, the quarantine and colon episode.
How's your colon?
Please email us.
Most listeners have already clicked on stop.
Yeah, no kidding. How do you fast forward through this?
Isn't it? We're gonna get so many tweets about this, whatever, and people are gonna be like talking about their colon health.
Thank you for opening up an opportunity for me to discuss my colon.
Anytime. I'm here for you. I'm really excited about today's episode because honestly, I know I used it as an opportunity as a segue, but really high school is so bleak. And this TV show, I love so much because it takes some of that bleakness and it gives it some just real acid wit and humor. We're talking about Never Have I Ever. And
By Mindy Kaling, or I get by, or what? No, I guess created by
Mindy Kaling and Lang Fisher. It's a American coming of age comedy drama television series starring Maitreyi Ramakrishnan. The comedy is partially based on Kaling's real childhood story, growing up in the Boston area, and it premiered on Netflix in April. And it's been described as a watershed moment for South Asian representation in Hollywood and praised for breaking South Asian stereotypes. And I have to, I know that we're going to give a synopsis and stuff, but I love this so much.
Oh, I do too. I'm really enjoying it. I think we both are in episode 5 now.
Yeah, so we're only going to talk up to episode 5. I know, Andrea Gin,
I watched the whole thing.
You watched the whole thing.
Andrea Gin watched the whole thing. You're super cool. I still have 5 episodes to go.
I started it and couldn't stop.
I didn't want to stop. The problem with me is that I, again, saved it until I really needed it 2 days ago when the flea circus started in my brain. And that's when I really dug into it. And then I didn't have enough time to get to finish all of it before now. But I'm up to episode 5. And
Don't say
that
stuff.
way we can't spoil anything.
Don't say stuff.
I know.
Not in these times. Not in this economy.
You're entirely right.
Don't
In a
save stuff.
pandemic, you cannot save things. That is why I have to finish watching Justified at some point. I never know when I'm going to die. All right. So does anyone want to read the synopsis?
Wow.
Or
I'm happy to.
I was more thinking like TV will just go away or something. I was thinking
okay.
like
I mean,
that grim.
I mean, both are not great, but yeah.
Okay, I'll read synopsis then. The story centers around Devi Vishwakumar, a 15-year-old Tamil Indian American high school girl from Sherman Oaks, California. After a horrible freshman year, Devi wants to change her social status, but friends, family, and feelings do not make it easy for her. After Devi's father, Mohan, passes away, Devi loses the use of her legs for 3 months. The following year, she tries to deal with her grief, Indian identity, and school life, also struggling with her relationship with her mother, Nalini, her beautiful cousin, Kamala, her 2 best friends, Eleanor and Fabiola, her high school crush, Paxton, and her nemesis, Ben.
Okay, so we've sort of all already said that we love it so much. Does it, Andrea Gin, you were talking about the other day how it made you feel old instantly. I had referenced that the trailer had made me uncomfortable and made me feel old. Once I got into the show, I did not feel old anymore. But Lisa, how did you feel?
Oh, I think at a certain point, you just have to accept the fact that for the rest of your life, you're going to see coming of age stories. That's just all anyone writes. That's pretty much the only subject matter of books and movies. So I have become accustomed to seeing high school dramas. The buildings change, the technology changes, but that's it. The exact same feelings, the exact same people, it's the exact same friends, it's the exact same dramas. Sometimes I don't like to watch them just because I don't it brings back those feelings, I feel. Like it's really visceral sometimes where I can actually remember what it felt like being in my locker or being in the hallway and just wanting to die so badly.
Yeah, no, I totally understand what you're saying, but for me, it seems like every time I watch a new teen drama or teen rom-com, I feel like less connected to the cultural references and sort of like a little more lost in terms of, the slang or whatever they think is cool. And yeah, I feel that gap growing wider and wider and wider as years go by.
But yet these stories are always written by people who are older. So that's the weird disconnect, because they'll make references. Oh, there was one Devi said, which...
It's Davy. I think it's...
Davy.
Yeah. That's
Davy,
how they say it on the show.
Yeah. She makes some sort of pop culture reference that I was thinking, there's no way she would know this one. It was like the other day, Kelly Ripa, this is not part of the show, Kelly Ripa, a real person, said that she had taken to wearing caftans around the house and her kids call her Mrs. Roper. And I'm like, your kids know who Mrs. Roper is? Like, I call on that, Like, you're writing your kids' dialogue, so...
Yeah.
So I always find that's always the weird kind of disconnect I also find in these kinds of stories.
Well, I think, like, with Davy, like, she's so... I can sort of believe it more for her because she does have that sort of, like, struggle with the, like, American identity versus Indian identity and not seeing sort of, like, the connection between the two. Like, maybe she would immerse herself more deeply in sort of, like, American pop culture and stuff. And, like, like, the fact that, like, John McEnroe is the narrator for this show... which I really did not think that they were going to be able to nail as like a device, and it turns out they did it really well.
Yeah,
it's really funny. I love him as a narrator.
Yeah.
I love
could
that.
not believe that I would ever feel affection for John McEnroe, but here we are. And the way that they do such a good job drawing parallels between her and him and their sort of their hot-headedness, and that it's like it's a connection to her dad as well. Like, I've been really pleasantly surprised at the sort of, I mean, I do think, like, to me, Davy doesn't seem like a 15-year-old. Like, I know this is such a stupid thing, but it just feels like 16 is the age in which mentally I have, like, decided that that's when the major preoccupation with sex happens. And so for some reason, 15 just feels like just that tiny bit, like, too young. And I think that's where, like, kind of my discomfort for the trailer came from. It's completely different within the show, and I love this idea that she has, like, built up this sort of, like, American ideal of, like, losing your virginity is everything. But, like...
that's like teen dramas from the 80s, the 90s. Every single teen drama is obsessed with virginity.
No, I know, but I think, like, what I like about how this feels like a fresh take on it for me, because it's girls, and it's girls who are... like, young girls of color who have, like, these different stories that we've never really seen represented before. And again, that sort of, like, social pressure of being, like, these smart girls, these weird girls, the UN, as they are called, which for a long time we think is, like, the sort of racist classification by, like, one of, like, this racist mocking classification. And then it turns out that it's just, like, mean and super cruel, and it stands for, like, unbleepable nerds.
Oh, yeah, that's it, yeah.
And I think, like, that idea of sort of, like, beauty belonging to, like, being the domain of, like, thin white teens versus, like, racialized young girls, like, that's a really classic thing that we don't see sort of reflected in any of these movies that talk about the quest to, like, lose virginity or, like, gain popularity through, social proximity to, like,
sure, but
sex.
We did watch Double Happiness, and that was a very similar... She's a bit older.
But she's, like, significantly older, and I'm just saying,
but I mean,
like...
I'm talking about the family pressures on somebody, to live a certain life.
No, I know. I'm just saying, like, we don't really see, like, a teen version of that, and that's what I feel feels fresh about this for me, and that's one of the things that I like. And I still like it. I mean, I like these stories no matter what, because I'm always going to like seeing teens grapple with a sexual agency when it's still... I mean, abstinence-only education is still a huge thing in the United States in like so many different places. And that's so wild to me. So I'm always going to be like super happy to see, especially teen girls, like destigmatizing sex for themselves.
Yeah, but that's certainly not allowed within her culture at all.
I mean, no, it's not within, and that's one of the things I like about it, is just like this sort of cultural conflict with like that sort of, you know, the sort of like Americanization.
Yeah, I mean, I just like it. I think that it could have, if she didn't have some incredibly fun, likable, and cute, and just everything. It's just a show that clicks. There's nothing bad about it. There's no bad casting. I also like, I don't like teen family dramas where there's just like a loathing of the parents and the kids. I understand there's going to be a lot of tension, but I like it when there's a love, there's a warmth, there's a you know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to hurt someone. We're all just trying to do the best thing. And that's what the struggle should be. And some of them are over the top where everyone just is an awful person.
Yeah.
You know, and then those aren't good to me.
Yeah, I think the conflict here feels a bit more natural. And I mean, I'm always going to be a sucker for like a show that deals with a dead parent, especially like a dead parent in high school, because that is a particular trauma that I am very like intimately acquainted with. So you're going to like win me over no matter what, at least to be interested in a show. Then what you do with it is going to be like, I actually have like, I think a lot of very specific feelings around how shows do that successfully. And one of the things I love so much is the actual like relationship between that preoccupation with sex and that preoccupation with avoiding grief. Because that is one I'm familiar with. It is, and it's weird how those two things fit together. You know, in some people's like it's just like it's a confusing collision of very adult things when you lose a parent when you're in high school, and like you're just like suddenly like, well, this is something I wasn't supposed to deal with until I was like 60 or 70 or something. Like, this is a far away thing. This is such an adult thing. And then you're just like, well, what other adult thing could I replace this emotion with that's way more fun and way more pleasure oriented and allows me an escape from like all of the trauma? Sex. I can turn my grief into sex.
Yeah.
That's, there's something like deeply rewarding about like feeling some kind of like physical closeness to someone when you have this like gaping wound in you.
Did I didn't read Mindy Kaling's real story. Did that happen to her?
No.
No, I don't
That's
think
the yeah, that's the curious. Yeah, no, but that's the
because
curious.
you read that it was based on her life in Boston, so I wasn't sure if.
Yeah, no, I looked it up too because I was like, does she have like dead parents? Because I've read her books. I don't remember any.
Yeah.
Like, I know her mom died in 2012, but that was when she was an adult. So I guess it's more so the other feelings around belonging and culture and place and things like that.
Yeah, and also in this story, the dad represents a person that really admired her spunkiness and her, you know, throw that tennis racket. You're John McEnroe.
Yeah.
You're not putting up with any of this because you're fantastic. You know, and that I love that.
I read an article when I was researching the show by Lorraine Alley in the LA Times. And she's an Indo-American who grew up in Sherman Oaks. And so she wrote a really amazing article with tons of insight about how it felt really accurate to her high school experience. Like, you know, the show did a really good job sort of nailing it.
It's why, I mean, I understand. This is why, like, you can always mine teen drama because you can, as you said, you know, portray different people, you know, like an Indian girl in Sherman Oaks. So there's something different for us to watch, but at the end of the day, we've all been through high school. We all felt like a loser. We all liked that boy that didn't like us or that girl that didn't like us. So it's such an interesting, great combination of relatability and also learning about something else and seeing something that you don't know anything about.
Well, that's the breakthrough of the show is that, you know, this is an Indian character who's allowed to have sort of a normal American teenage girl life. and you rarely see that. I don't know if I've ever seen that in a mainstream American show.
Not in a mainstream American show for sure. I feel like Degrassi in Canada was like the newer versions, not the earlier versions, because again, the earlier versions were very, very white, and it was the later versions that sort of gave us a little bit of that sort of multiculturalism that, like, you know, we should be seeing, like, reflected on our TV shows. But I feel like outside of, like, when I was watching, like, I watched Mindy. Did you guys watch Mindy?
Yes.
The Mindy Project? Sorry.
Yes, Mindy Project,
I was calling it Mindy as if we were best friends.
Yeah, wow,
the
okay,
Mindy Project?
yeah. Yes, as her as a gynecologist, and yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I feel like the only times we sort of got snapshots of, like, what it would be like to be an Indo-American girl growing up in the States is, like, when we're having those flashback episodes, like, to see what her, like, childhood was like and stuff. And I mean, there were so many things about the Mindy Project that I loved a lot. And there were a few things that I did not love as much. But I think, one of the things that I like so much about this show is that it's so funny. Like, I think I've talked about this before about, like, when I'm with other people watching shows, I'm less likely to laugh out loud. Like, it's something I do when I'm on my own, but, like, it has to be really funny to make me laugh out loud. And there are at least, like, 3 moments in every episode where I have been, like, just killing myself laughing. And it's not just that, like, it's not just that Davey's, like, this sort of sophisticated person who calls people on their crap and also super innocent and super naive, and, like, she's so smart on the one hand and then so completely oblivious about her own feelings on the other. And I love the duality of that because it feels real no matter what age you are, frankly. Like, it's, you know, it's to have, like, these huge blind spots about yourself when you're trying really hard to avoid doing, like, the deep emotional work that you know that you need to do, and you're just not ready for it, you know? But, like, also to have this, like, huge awareness to be able to, like, tell a guy, like, to have such burns, like, the college recruiter in episode 5 when she like schools him with the, like, you're leasing your oh my god,
your electric car?
Leasing your Tesla, like, it's like one of the meanest things she could say to this man, and she knows that, like, and she has the presence of mind. I mean, I understand this is a scripted show, she's not a real person, however, it's so perfect.
The actress Maytree, it's like I think it's the first thing she's done.
Yeah.
She's Canadian. She was, you know, discovered during this process, and she's from Mississauga.
Oh, right, I heard that. Yeah. I have to say,
I can't believe how, like, great an actress she is.
She's so good.
Like, I have to say that scene played out a bit different for me, since I know about the college entrance scam that went on. And I honestly thought it was going to go in that direction. That there was going to be a little... So, how are you at... Maybe just borrowing from Bandit like Beckham. How are you at soccer?
Quid pro quo,
Yeah, maybe we could get you in some pictures, you know?
Yeah.
You know, I thought it might go that way.
Well, and I do like the fact that, like, the thing that they know about her is that she is the girl whose father died at a recital in the school in front of everybody. Like, that kind of trauma is just unimaginable. And then she ends up, you know, paralyzed, and everyone's gossiping about, like, whether that's just a psychosomatic thing or whether that's, like, something, you know, does she have some kind of disease? Like, people are super gossipy about that. And, like, this is what the college guy, like, he's so callous, and yet I know he's right. Like, I know that's the story.
Literally, that's like, why I watch the ESPYs. I just want to tell you that's the only reason.
You want those stories, like,
I watch The Voice.
You're the
American
audience
Idol
for those.
That's all we want to hear. I don't care if you're a good singer. Why? What's going to make you cry? Oh, I see. It's your dead grandma. That's right. Tell me the traumatic. Like, honestly, that's who we are now.
No,
but that's what college admissions are, right? Because there are millions of people who can get straight A's and
Yeah,
or
you
like
gotta have
have a
something.
full resume. But like when you write that essay for your college admission, like you have to have a hook. Like
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
knows that. You have to have a hook.
No, that's why everybody wants the rescue dog. You need a hook, right? When you're out walking, you want to,
Otherwise, like
homeless. He
you'll
was homeless in Taiwan, and now
no,
he's in here.
but
And, I mean,
you just are told that these people are sifting through hundreds and hundreds of applications, and they're never going to remember you unless you have something memorable on like to talk about.
but yeah, that doesn't seem reflected in the people that come out of there. But
No, because they never address like the legacy applicants.
yes,
Those boring wooden replicas that are just churning out.
That leaves fewer spots for the rest of us, and that means you have to be memorable.
Well, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyone I've met who has worked in any of those Ivy Leagues, boy, their stories, those are bleak.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. Oh my god. I like the fact that Davy is sometimes awful. She's not perfect at all. She's angry a lot. Throws a book through a window. I've been there. I have better.
You threw a book through a window?
Actually, at my sister's temple, and I dented it, and she still has the dent to this day. Look, we fought a lot. We shared a bedroom till we were 17. We only got separate bedrooms after my father died, and we had to move in with my mom. Like, it was close quarters. My dad had to walk through our bedroom to get to his. My sister and I were on top of each other all the time. My grandma slept in the living room. Like, it was close quarters to spend that much time with someone who's 13 months younger than me. We're fine now, obviously, but, Also, wait, to defend myself, I have scars on my hands that still to this day from her fingernails, because she would just, dig in.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
sounds like you lived in Lord of the Flies or something.
No, it's just, people who, never had a sister or who, I guess, didn't have, daughters close in age, are often girls don't fight the way boys do. Oh my God. Girls fight dirty and bad.
My brother and I used to fight quite.
Did you guys fight a lot?
Yeah, but then it got, you've seen my brother? He's 6'5" now. So
Then it got a little unfair?
Then it got a little unfair.
Yeah.
Because he shot up when he was 12.
Oh.
Really shot up.
Yeah.
He grew 6 inches in a year.
Wow.
It was like having a brother who was a sweaty ghost who just ate a lot. He just was sleeping. He was always tired and sad, and then eat and then sleep. And he was just this ghostly figure. And then later it was just oh my God, he grew 6 inches in a year.
I just love sweaty ghost as a description for your brother. That's amazing.
I've never told him that one, but I can't wait to tell him.
You should.
But back to your point about Davy being allowed to be angry and unlikable
Yes.
on the show. One of the things that Lorraine Alley wrote was that I'm going to read her quote.
Yeah.
Girls on TV are seldom allowed to get as viscerally angry as Davy. They may say catty things, plot against their enemies, cry tears of frustration, or drink. But violent outbursts are generally assigned to male characters, unless we're talking about a superhero like Jessica Jones, or if it's in the service of justifiable revenge, like The Handmaid's Tale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes on to say, Davy throws books through windows, smashes things on the floor, and verbally explodes. It's not pretty, powerful, or for the greater good, but it's real and it's exceptional because there's an Indian girl at the center of all this rage. Finally, the South Asian TV nerd, and she's a nerd, gets to be human. And the brown kid of an immigrant gets to be ill-behaved, self-centered, and petulant as her white peers. As her white peers.
Well, join the club.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
welcome.
welcome.
No,
Yeah.
it is exciting to see that she gets to be so complicated and gets to be so, and just gets to be a person like anybody else. And again, that sort of nerd character, and especially the immigrant nerd character, is such a stereotype so often, and it's never very three-dimensional. It's always sort of just played for laughs or played for, cheap, trivial jokes or whatever. This is actually sort of so much more in line with so many of the super smart kids that I went to school with, who could be like incredibly awful and very funny and super smart all at the same time. And like, we're incredibly competitive, but we're also like super insecure, but also full of bravado, because they were just trying to get through. And it's just like trying to figure out what your identity is when you're 15, particularly when you're trying so hard to like desperately redefine yourself against like everything you've grown up as and as the tragic girl. Like, I think and I mean, that's one of the things, like, one of the questions in your outline, AG, is about like the paralysis and how it like is kind of like, did we need it? Like, why is it there? What's it for? Is it, like, I mean, I think there are questions cropped up for me. It was like about ableism and like stuff like that around it. But I think it's supposed to like communicate just that like additional level of like how her grief and her trauma has manifested in these like big ways. Like, and I think, I mean, as someone who does not use a wheelchair or has never been paralyzed, I can't speak to sort of like the ableism of using that as like a storytelling device instead of like as like an actual like aspect of personhood. I'm sure that it's not ideal at all. But I think we have seen sort of, there are so many different ways that trauma manifests physically. It's not handled, I don't think, like that well.
I think that
I don't want to fault the show.
Yeah, I mean, for me, when I'm watching it, I think what it does is that everything you're trying to do in high school is like it's like this strange balancing act where you want to be noticed but not noticed at all. So you want to be like completely average, like you want everything about you normal, you want everything about your family normal, everything. But at the same time, you're hoping that a hot guy like Paxton is going to look at you and pick you out of this entire crowd of people and say, you're the one.
Yeah.
You're the only one. Even though I recognize the fact that you're extremely average and blend in with everyone, I also notice your individuality. Like, it is the most screamingly unfair 5 or whatever years of your life. It is painful.
Do you think that high school as this experience will ever change? Like, in 100 years from now, will this be still the same thing played out in every high school everywhere? Like, there's popular kids. There's
can I say something
based on how they look?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that, like, I do think in the current situation of like pandemics, like this pandemic could very much change like the reality of what high schools look like going forward. So it could be like that this is going to end up being a time capsule of what we know high school to be.
Well,
like if every kid is going to school in the future with like a mask and 6 feet of distance around them and like, or has to all like turn to like online learning, it could be a very, very different high school in the future.
That's a good point.
At the same time, people often say, we're always in high school. Like, you start a job, that same sense of, hierarchy starts.
That's what I wonder, right? Like, when will society ever be able to break out of this? Like these kinds of things that are ingrained into you in high school that seem to carry on into university and seem to carry on into adulthood. Like, will society ever be able to just break out of that and, not have a hierarchy based on, perceived beauty or Western ideals of beauty?
At the end of the day, our entire lives are always going to be able to be narrated by some nature documentarian, like the alpha male walks into the fill in the blank, right?
I have like a lot of hope, actually. I know I'm always sort of like a bit optimistic and a bit naive and a bit salty, but I have actually like a lot of hope that we can sort of like dismantle these hierarchies, because I think that they're so reliant upon a very specific way that the culture has always existed. And I'm not saying it's going to disappear, and I'm not saying it's going to phase out and it's not going to go away entirely. But I do think a lot of people are examining like hierarchies of power right now and really challenging them and asking themselves questions about like, do we want this to be our lives? And I just feel like more and more people are asking themselves those questions all the time. And so I don't know. I think it could change.
It could, but I just finished reading a Jane Austen novel, and it's not that different.
No, I know. And I mean, you know, we already had
And
like
that
a
was
Spanish flu.
1810.
Well, and yeah, I know. We already had a Spanish flu 100 years ago, and everyone forgot that pretty damn fast, and 50 million people died, and blah, blah, blah. You know, like it is cyclical, but I mean, part of that is like just the realities of like having so many social structures that are sort of like founded on principles of colonization and like the church and the hierarchies in the church and power and male privilege and like blah, all these gross things that like so much of modern day culture is founded on. And those are really complicated things to sort of dismantle. But like the more conversations we have about those kinds of things, like the more that at least having awareness about it means that you can sort of talk about it and try to dismantle some of those structures.
But for me, watching the show is a lot about, which is good and bad. It just makes me feel like I'm back in high school again.
Yeah,
Totally.
And I don't know sometimes. So, it's not great, right? It's some of those feelings. And one of the feelings that sometimes I'm watching these shows and I always wish I could reach into the screen and if this was a real person and just hold them and say, it feels like this will never end. It feels like you will never get out of here. It is such a short part of your life. It is so small. So small. It will emotionally scar you for your whole life. But
so wait, Lisa, would you have identified as a nerd in high school?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I didn't think so.
No. Why? What did you think I was?
No, I just like, I didn't see you as being a nerd, but when you started talking about, you know, how high school, it gets better after high school, I was like, oh, maybe she was a nerd in high school.
No, I just I just hated being there. I hated the whole thing. I didn't feel particularly challenged. I didn't really you know, I wasn't like at some sort of place where everybody was like itching to get into higher learning, let's say. It was very much a holding pen until we could move along. And that's partly me too, right? That I wasn't really thinking of those things. But no, I just remember feeling very lost and wanting to get out, wanting to start the rest of my life, like just to get out of there. And I feel that in all these high school dramas, you know, like even like as old as Breakfast Club is, if you watch that, it's so sad. It's so sad. Even no one's happy there. Nobody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I was,
I
you know, getting at is whether high school will ever, as an experience, will ever change. Because it's like, why does this keep happening? Like, why can't it be fixed? Why can't, like, we change the way people are treated in high school?
Because I think like we really do feel that there is a hierarchy built into sort of like the cultural foundation of our society, and it sucks.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can, if you recognize it and name it and decide that you want to sort of do it differently, you can, for sure. It just takes, I think, like a lot of self-awareness and a lot of effort and like a lot of having to be are being willing to sort of stand outside of big cultural moments that, you know, we tend to sort of define ourselves by, like how much we participated in something or how much we like, how many friends we had, or like, you know, did we go to prom and like all these other things. And, you know, and even as we get older, like there's definitely a sense always of like who the cool kids are in niche communities. Like, I mean, it's, or people who like really think that certain folks have more power than they do. And only the richest people ever feel truly like they possess power. Even like super privileged people don't necessarily feel like they possess power because there's always somebody above them. And so like that's just a really complicated feeling to sort of try and like, you know, if you're living by that system and dying by that system, it's very hard to like disavow it. One
thing I really remember in all these high school movies we've seen, and it was just there was that scene in Mean Girls after the book, what's the book called? The Game with All the Lies, the secret book or whatever?
The Slam book.
Slam book. And suddenly it's all out. Everybody knows it's just chaos, right?
Yeah.
Everyone's running around screaming. Those pages are flying.
Yeah.
And I remember even the first time seeing it, and when I watch it again, I remember there's a really cathartic feeling of just it's out. Like what you're saying. The hierarchy. It's like that Dr. Seuss story with the Sneetches, with the stars on theirs. You remember that story?
I don't.
Do you know that one, Andrea? The
No.
Sneetches?
No.
Oh, so in this Dr. Seuss story that there's all these Sneetches that look exactly the same, except some have stars on their belly. And the ones who have the stars are the cool ones, and everybody wants to be them. But there's nothing you can do because they have stars on theirs, which is Dr. Seuss. And anyway, an enterprising fella comes to town, and he's got a machine, and he'll put a star on yours just for some money. So then people start getting the stars, and then the people with the stars realize that I got to get rid of my star because they've got a star now. So then there's a scene exactly like that where it's just complete pandemonium. The guy's making tons of money, and then he finally leaves, and some have 3, some have none, some have 1, some have 2, and then it's over. Everyone's equal.
Yeah.
And that's just one of my favorite Dr. Seuss stories. And I just think about that whole idea when I was watching Mean Girls too, is when it's just finally, it's over. The game.
Yeah.
The thing is done. We know what you're thinking.
Yeah.
And
well, and that's the thing about like that. Yeah. The game of it all is done once you sort of like secrets are power. And once those secrets come out, no one has any power.
Yeah.
And it's,
and I think that's why one of the things I'm really enjoying is the way she writes. Mindy Kaling has written Paxton, who is just like, a very cute, affable guy who will nowhere near come up to her. This would be the most unsatisfied.
I know, that's the thing.
Relationship of all time.
I mean, I like that they keep revealing new layers to him all the time. Like his protectiveness towards his sister, who is super cool and super fashionable. He speaks Japanese. Everyone keeps like erasing his Japanese identity. Like they keep sort of revealing these sort of momentary new things. He seems very direct to like call out Davy on when he's like, "Why are you lying to people about us?" But he's also willing to have sex with an utterly unknown person just because he's 16 and he's got like his friend's mom's hitting on him, which I mean, I hate to say it, but I understand.
I think though that seems so authentic to every boy that I knew to be popular in high school. Like it was purely based on like they were considered to be good looking, and that was
really Dean and Gilmore Girls.
Yeah, that's like, and that's like 99.9% of their popularity, and it has nothing to do with them being a terrible person or not that smart or not that nice or anything like that. Like it's solely based on who is considered attractive in high school.
Mm-hmm. Well, and also when you're that young, you think somebody's cool. But it's just that they're like clueless. They're dumb. That's the difference, right? Like they're not cool. They just don't care.
I have to say, the one time I've ever fallen for someone because I thought that they were just so beautiful. I mistook so many conversations between us as meaningful. And it turns out that they had just, they had wanted to be a poet, but they were terrible at it. And they just were able to sort of like fake a poet's soul, but they were actually super empty, and they were just trying to have threesomes with my other friend and her friend. And like I was so head over heels. It was ridiculous. And I mean, I wish I had been 15. I was 19 instead.
But so can we spend some time talking about the Kamala Steve storyline?
I mean, if you have to. I find that story very boring.
What I like about it though is like, I was going to bring this up before when we were talking about standards of beauty in high school, but Kamala is like, she's this like object of beauty. And I think that that is actually really so cool because, you know, she's like this beautiful woman who's attractive to everybody. And it's like,
Yes.
you know, like she's held up as this kind of unattainable beauty. And yeah, I really like that kind of aspect of having a character like that in the show.
Yeah, no, I like that, and I like her, and I think that she's fine. I have yet to find the thing in her character that makes me sort of like more interested in her.
I think that when you watch it to the end, you sort of see her storyline play out more.
That's awesome. I am so interested in depictions of, and good depictions. I mean, I don't know that this will be, but like, you know, I'll find out once I watch the final 5. But like good depictions of the complications of friendship between girls, like especially in high school, like especially when, you know, you 3 have been these sort of like outcasts and you have decided to sort of like come into your own power, and like you have figured out that you have cultural capital in school in some fashion. Like, you know, just the fact that like Eleanor discovers that like through channeling some of her feelings about her mom, like she can be a compelling actor. And like Fabiola has been like, you know, just this sort of like robotics genius for so long and kind of like not in touch with her body and herself and who she is, and figuring that out. Those are really, really powerful things. And so I'm just excited to spend more time with these people.
Yeah. If I go back to high school, I would definitely want it to be nerdy, but you can't be nerdy if you're not nerdy, so I just wouldn't have been. So, but now when you're older, you look back and you're like, all the nerdy people were the cool people.
Well, that's one of like the major, I mean, this is, but like when you know, no secret that Carlos, my husband, is kind of a nerd. And and I love him for it, and it makes me really happy. But like, you know, he had just, and you know, I mean, I've talked to him about this before, but like, you know, he felt very much like an outcast in high school, and we ended up going to his 10-year reunion. And I went with him. We had been together a few years at that point. I did not go to mine because I'm just never going to go to mine.
I'm surprised you wanted to go to his.
Oh, I didn't, but I was like, I'm going to go with you to be supportive. Yeah, like, no, I was like, oh, hell's no.
That sounds like the worst thing. I was like going to someone's office party at Christmas or something.
You know what? God. I love those too, because I'm good at just chatting with strangers about nothing.
Yeah, but everyone's doing shop talk, and you don't want to laugh about Alan in accounting because you don't know who he is.
I love to make fun of Alan in accounting to his face. That's what I bring to the table. No, it's, but yeah, so we went to this like high school reunion of his, and everyone would be like, Carlos, the genius. Like, that's how everyone knew him. And at one, like within the first like 10 minutes, we had like tons of weird people come up to us. And after like we had like a bit of a lull, I turned to him and I was like, these are all people who knew you in high school. Like, they all seem very excited about how smart you were. I think you may have had friends and you didn't know, or at least like people like you were adjacent to friendship and you didn't know. He was like, yeah, wish I could go back and know that. And I was like, yeah, no, I know. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Honest to goodness, probably none of them were worth it. So.
Oh no one's ever worth it for sure. No, I'm not worried about that. But I just like, it's so wild to like, if we don't know how we are seen in the world as adults, how can you possibly understand how people see you when you're a teenager? To
wrap us on this, I think that that it is sometimes I find a little bit challenging sometimes the high school dramas. I do watch them, but I find sometimes they're like, it's a lot because you're kind of really throwing yourself back in there emotionally.
Well, buckle up for the last 6 episodes.
Yeah, because in some ways you don't ever leave,
buckle
right?
Up. That's all I have to say.
You're taking those same sorts of dynamics with you wherever you go. You're almost like, that's who you were, right? That's how you responded to people. It's how you learned all kinds of things that you maybe didn't need to learn and shouldn't have learned and wish you hadn't learned.
The last 2 episodes, there are several moments that just killed me dead. It's devastating. Yeah, like just
Great.
Get ready.
I can't wait, guys.
Yeah, and then, you know, at the best of circumstances, you get asked to the prom and you're all excited, and then you get some pig blood dropped on your head. And then your telekinetic powers come into play, and you burn down the town.
I mean,
so how's that for a high school drama?
It's my favorite high school drama.
It's the most real to me. I mean, I don't know what you guys did.
Me too. So does Never Have I Ever pop?
Yeah. Yes, a lot.
I love it so much.
I do. I love all the characters. I love the cozy feeling of it, which is, I think a lot of people talk about that, like when you watch Gilmore Girls, and I think she's done a really good job of creating that.
Yeah.
And that has a large part to do with the family dynamic she created with her mom and her cousin and these friends, and that makes me feel very cozy, and I like that. The high school part, like I said, it's what are you gonna do? It's a big part of all our lives, and so if you're listening to this and high school was challenging for you, good luck, because you're going back. You're right in there.
We love to leave our episodes, and this went very long, so we love to leave our episodes with something we recommend. Lisa, how about you?
Yes, I have really been enjoying the cooking show by Nadia Hussein called Nadia's Time to Eat. You might remember her as the winner of season 6 of the British Bake Off. So she has hosted some other shows I've watched too, including a family cooking show out of England. So this is just her giving you time-saving recipes, of which I'm going to try many of. And I love spending time with her because she's just about one of the... I feel if I had met her and she was mean, I'd be really hurt because I think she's really nice.
That's nice.
Very, very nice.
That's nice.
Very kind.
And it's on Netflix or where?
Yeah, it's on Netflix.
Okay.
Yeah. So I encourage you to watch that. Time to Eat.
Cool. AG, how about you?
I'm recommending a Twitter feed to follow. Another.
Wow.
There's a feminist film journal in England called Another Gaze.
It's good.
It's so good.
Oh, I don't think I know that one. Okay, Another Gaze.
Yeah, and they're always like kicking up like women directed films, and this week they were talking about this filmmaker named Sarah Mulderer, but who just passed away unfortunately from the coronavirus.
Oh.
But she was a French director, and they sort of they pulled together this retrospective pretty quickly, and like I did a thing where you could there was a Zoom talk that you could log into and watch a bunch of film scholars talk about her work and her legacy, and then so they put up 3 of her films on Vimeo, and it was just fascinating because she was this kind of underappreciated director, and there was this great conversation about how, she was kind of left out of being on juries and getting prizes and stuff like that. And as a result, not a lot of people know about her. But now Another Gaze was taking this week to sort of teach us about her life and legacy. And I felt that it was really enlightening. It was really great.
That's great.
While you were talking, I followed. So.
Oh,
I am going to recommend the new record from Lido Pimienta called Miss Columbia. It is, I have realized that a lot of the music that I'm listening to in isolation is very much music that is either, in another language or features a lot of sort of Latin beats or Filipino music, or it's just sort of taking me away from the 900 square feet that I know so intimately well in my apartment. Is music that is transporting me to a different time and a place, maybe to countries and cities that I have never been before, ever. I've never been to Colombia, but I feel like I sort of Lido's record gives me this sort of texture and sound and color, and it just feels like she puts me there. And I just really appreciate it so much. And it's just a really beautiful record too. It's just, you put it on and you are instantly outside of your 4 walls, and it's gorgeous, and I really recommend it.
Excellent.
Thanks. Well, thank you everyone for listening. We have had so much fun recording these episodes at home in isolation. We get to see each other's faces.
Yes, we do.
We don't get to hug, but we get to drink. And maybe that's why some of our episodes start with 10 minutes on colons and granola. So sorry. But thank you everyone for listening. You can rate and review us on iTunes and Stitcher. You can listen to us on Spotify. You're at home. Stream us if you want. There's hundreds of episodes, literally.
God, yeah. And Andrea Gin is joining us each week, but she is the producer and gets to listen to this all again. So...
Sometimes many times.
So thank you, and thank all of you for being with us here, and I hope you're all well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.